The next panel is on net zero fuel pathways. The maritime industry is undergoing a multi-fuel transition in order to meet the decarbonization targets set by the IMO. This panel explores how different stakeholders across the fuel supply chain can work together to store, transport, bunker, and use net zero fuels safely, as well as discuss how the gaps that need to be filled for the maritime industry can help to accelerate decarbonization. Mr. Knut Urbach-Nielsen, Maritime CEO of DNV, will be the moderator for this session. Thank you. Joining Mr. Urbach-Nielsen on the panel are the following distinguished panelists. May I invite them to join us on stage, please. Mr. Nicholas Brabeck, Managing Director of MAN Energy Solutions, Singapore. Mr. Kenneth Whittle, Senior Project Manager for the Smart Technology Hub at Wärtsilä. Mr. Hiroki Kobayashi, Chief Executive Officer of IHI Asia Pacific. Mr. Robert Van Nielen, Vice President of Growth at Advario. And Mr. Leonardo Sonzio, Head of Fleet Management and Technology at Maersk. To post your questions to the panelists, do remember to use the QR codes on the screens behind me. Mr. Urbach-Nielsen, may I hand over the floor to you, please?
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everyone. I hope you're doing fine. We have a great panel here for you, and we're going to discuss the pathways to net zero and alternative fuels. And we have a great composition here with ship owners, engine manufacturers, and also the suppliers of the fuel. So I think this will be an interesting discussion. Before we dive into the debate, let me just take one moment to give a tribute to all the seafarers around the world who are doing an amazing job in increasingly difficult circumstances to help global trade and shipping deliver on its promise for the world. So I think that deserves an applause. Thank you very much. All right, so this is really all about how we can, as an industry, move towards a net zero environment. And as we all know, the International Maritime Organization has set very ambitious decarbonization targets, and the transition to cleaner fuels is one major pathway where international shipping really needs to deliver, but also take into account a lot of new technologies. I think we will start by having the panelists just very quickly introduce themselves. So if you could start at the far end, Leonardo, please.
Good morning, everyone. Leonardo Sonzio, responsible for the ship management and technology at Maersk.
It works. Yeah, good morning. My name is Robert van Nielen. I'm responsible for projects in Advario. Advario is a leading partner in liquid storage and logistics. I look at projects in the US, in the Middle East, and of course we're also working on a very important project here in Singapore.
Hi everyone, good morning. My name is Hiroki Kobayashi. I'm CEO of the IHI Asia Pacific, which is the regional headquarters of the IHI Corporation. IHI Corporation is a Japanese company. I started 1853, more than 170 years ago. And we are now diversified our business in the various fields. And one of our major business is energy sector. And we are now working for decarbonization in the energy sector. But this is a common issue for maritime and the energy sector. Today I can introduce our activity for ammonia value chain. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Kenneth Whittle, Senior Project Manager, Wärtsilä, R&D, Sustainable Fuels and Decarbonization. Very pleased to be here.
Yeah, hello everybody. My name is Nicholas Brabeck. I'm Managing Director here in Singapore, MAN Energy Solutions. We are engine designer and engine builder.
Great. So as you can see, a very capable panel that should give us plenty of insights. Now, if I could start with you, Leonardo, and maybe Hiroki-san, you can follow up. Let's begin by discussing the broader landscape. So what do you see as the biggest challenge and the biggest opportunity for the maritime industry in its transition to alternative fuels, please?
Thank you, Knut.
We will start with Leonardo and then go to you, Hiroki. Yeah.
Thank you, Knut, for the question, right? And I would like to start really with the opportunities. First and foremost, consumers are demanding more and more for greener products. And likewise, companies are moving in that direction. I would like to put some data points out there. The amount of companies that set and committed to science-based target increased from approximately 2,250 in 2021 to 4,200 in 2022, and almost 7,000 companies with science-based target at the end of 2023. All of these companies will need green supply chains. So that is a massive opportunity. Bringing it closer to home and talking about Maersk, last year alone, we delivered as part of our eco-delivery product, which yields substantial reduction in carbon emission, about 350,000 40-foot equivalent. You could say, oh, okay, that's only 3% of the volume that Maersk carries worldwide. Yes, that is true, but it's also a 50% increase from the previous year. So what I'm going with this, the opportunity comes really also from the commercial space, from the companies, from consumers really needing and wanting to be part of the solution to climate change. Big opportunity. Certainly there is challenges. We all, I think in this room, or majority of us agree that eventually not doing anything will come with a bigger cost. That said, the green transition will certainly bring cost. And all shipping companies need actually regulation, particularly when it comes to pricing mechanism and fuel standards that support the transition. That's a given. And the reason why I'm mentioning it is a challenge now, it's simply because the regulation is not there. That said, I've been more optimistic than ever. Seeing what has happened under MEPC 80, MEPC 81, hearing the Secretary General of IMO earlier this week speaking with enthusiasm and commitment, in my mind is a great sign of optimism for all of us. Last point, still perhaps on the challenge, is certainly revolves around the selection of technologies and energy sources of the future. It is a complex, multidimensional problem, and we need to navigate this. And of course, in all of this, there are risks, but there is also certainly opportunities. And I'm sure we will explore more around this. I would like to conclude the small start of the panel, conveying the optimism and the energy. We know this is difficult, but I do believe the fundamentals, starting from consumers, are there.
Great insights. Thank you very much. And Hiroki-san, thank you for your patience. Please go ahead.
Okay, thanks. Thank you. So maybe I'll give you the, my landscape, a view of the landscape from the engineering and technical point of view. We are working for the ammonia more than a decade when we see the necessity of the carbon neutrality, especially in the energy sector. But we are now almost complete our technology. We see the many potential projects already happening and demonstration in Japan. Thanks for the Japanese government fund for this. And in maritime, we are proud that we made the first delivery of ammonia gas engine for ammonia gas tugboat, which is also the project funded by Japanese government. And thank you to our consortium partner to make it happen. So we can say HI is working for the end-to-end clean ammonia. Clean means green or blue. From the upstream production of the green ammonia and out to downstream is the utilization of ammonia using our technology. So I can say that end-to-end ammonia value chain is almost there technically. However, as you know, the ammonia is toxic. So it is our top priority now to develop ammonia solution that are safe for operator and neighbors. The point is not only the machine development or engineering consideration, but also the operation in a safe manner with such new carbon-free fuels. So this is a significant challenges for us now, because this is common for both in energy and maritime sector. And this is achieved only through the collaboration with our friend or partnership. So I really appreciate this SMW. This is the occasion that we initiate this dialogue and the collaboration and speed up our challenge. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much. Let's move on now to Kenneth first, and then Nicholas and Robert. Considering the very diverse needs of the many different shipping segments, how do you envision the fuel mix for the maritime industry in the next 10 to 20 years? That should be an easy one.
Thank you, Knut. Yes, this isn't easy. It's done in a few seconds. Now, it's very, very challenging. And yes, like mentioned today many times, there's no silver bullet, no bullets. It's a heap of magazines. Clearly, in the previous panel, yes, so renewable propulsion, wind or something else in combination with energy-saving devices, these will clearly play a part as well as the cost of fuel will go up. Hence, the payback time I also mentioned for the investments to be made can be identified and will come down. But then to go to this 10 to 20 years perspective and different segments, short-term, sort of short sea and deep sea shipping, I'd say that it will be a mix of hopefully not probably all available renewable fuels. Even batteries or at least hybrid for maybe shorter routes. I'd say towards the end of this 20 year, we could even see hydrogen in short sea shipping coming out. But of course, then when we go to the long, it's a combination of also mentioned today, the total cost of ownership, the capex and the opex, cost and availability, not to forget the ETS or residual emissions that you need to take care of. So methanol, we can all see that is coming. Those engines are being started, operated already, so that's nothing. Then ethanol or maybe bioethanol, that could also be, maybe that's more sort of niche to certain regions in the world. And now we're talking, of course, all then renewable. Methane, clearly. Ammonia, like mentioned, I think we are all working with ammonia. And clearly then for short sea, as mentioned, maybe even hydrogen. But at the end of the day, it all comes to the different regions, segments, routes, the equation of what is the cost of the fuel, what is the cost of ETS or other emission trades you need to make in order to get your best sort of optimized operation there. So this is what you get when you ask an easy question. But that, I think, in short, and I'm sure that my Nicholas here will cover all those which I've forgotten. So please.
Yeah, I think nothing forgotten. Just from our perspective, concentrating a little bit more on the long haul, two-stroke ocean-going side. We would say it is definitely not batteries. It's gas engines, which will bring us into the future. And in the transition phase, when gas is maybe not fully available, we will do this in forms of dual fuel. So it means engine which can burn conventional fuel oil and gas. And looking what we have, so we have already LNG, methane since more than 10 years. We have LPG and ethane. We have methanol since 2016. And the ammonia engine currently under development. And then if we come back to the origin of the question, what is the future fuel mix that we predict from our order books, from our talks with the customers, then I think there will be still ethane and LPG in 15, 20 years time frame for the long haul ocean going, but dedicated to the ethane and LPG carriers. And then we will have a mix of the three big ones, which is methane and then methanol and ammonia. And it's hard to predict a winning party here, but obviously ammonia having zero carbon, and as well maybe from the perspective of cost of production and onboard storage and implementation, is a candidate for, or potential candidate for domination in this fuel mix. Hydrogen, due to commercial feasibility of onboard storage, we do not see at the moment. And one thing to mention, due to the lifespan of the vessels, we would still in 20 years, 15 to 20 years, see roughly 20% of the engines being conventional engines in the water at that time. So that brings biofuels as well on the table. Yeah, and I think that's the view into the crystal ball of future fuel from our perspective.
Thank you. And I guess, Robert, being on the terminal storage side, this doesn't make life all that easy for you. Do you agree with these predictions?
I'm not sure whether it doesn't make life easy for us. For us, it's an opportunity, it's a challenge, which makes life very interesting for us. I think that indeed a lot has been mentioned already on the products. We also believe that carbonized fuels will remain. It will go down. It will maybe change in terms of today there's bunker. It will go more to LNG. We see projects being developed. I must say that we do see developments on e-methanol, for example. So between ammonia and methanol, we believe that production will be going to both sides, because e-methanol is an opportunity, and they have their particularities, their challenges, but also it is an opportunity to use fast. For us, ammonia is of course a big one that we see globally everywhere. We hope that developments can go even faster than today, but we do expect that this mix will be there depending on the different regions. Yeah, and considering the need for production, we believe that all these will be growing together.
Thank you very much. Now, Hiroki-san, you mentioned earlier about the different technologies on the engine side, about fuel cells, and also some safety issues. So what are some of the new safety features which you think are important for the new engines, please?
Okay, so again, we're working for ammonia value chain and gas engine for ammonia. But now the safety is the most crucial precondition for us to establish the value chain. For ammonia engines, safety, we believe, consists of two areas. One is safety to environment, of course, and second is safety to operator. For safety to environment, we developed a stable combustion control and exhaust gas treatment system to minimize our impact to the environment. And our engine already meets the environment performance of IMO Tier 3 NOx regulation. Also, leakage impact to the environment is the topic that we need our deep consideration. So this new carbon-free fuels, this is our challenge for everyone. And from our point of view, technological challenge and operational challenge should be combined to be tackled. For safety, the operator, safety design measures, of course, including double wall piping, ammonia-resistant material, and other technical considerations have been taken by us. And of course, leakage ammonia system, including sensors and alarms that, the digitalization maybe, could be implied for this safety also. And this is a new, the technology to be integrated for the important mitigation of the safety. But again, this is a combination with the technical development and the safety operation, guideline and the know-hows. So for this purpose, we are happy and excited to collaborate with partners. So we need to get together to collect, each know-how and experience to make this new challenge happen.
Thank you very much. Now, Leonardo, if I can turn to you, you are a buyer of these new engines, and you will also be a buyer of the new fuels. And what are your, say, top considerations? And if I may, we just received a question from the audience, and I'll just throw that in and see if you can address that as well. So it says, Maersk has already finalized methanol as the fuel for the future. Could you please explain also the decision-making process for future fuel selection?
Excellent. I will try to address both questions. First and foremost, I think the key learning for us in Maersk has been that the process of selection must be iterative. And you need to be ready to challenge previous thinking or even disrupt previous thinking. Because the technology field and world is developing rapidly, and the knowledge that we are gaining is also evolving. To be a bit more crisp and specific, when we look at the choice of technologies and fuels in Maersk, we first and foremost carry out an overall feasibility analysis, looking at technology readiness, including safety considerations. We look very much at environmental life cycle assessment, so the impact throughout the life cycle of said energy sources and technology. And certainly, lastly, we also do economical assessment, looking at the volume, cost, the supply chain readiness. And ultimately, the economical assessment should be boiled down into cost to abate curves. Now, this is, as I said, it's a highly iterative process, right? Then when you need to zoom in and actually place investment, you need to overlay this information to the characteristics of the vessels you are planning to order. So the mission, the type of deployment that the vessel has. Answering the question, with regards to methanol, first and foremost, allow me to clarify that as a company, Maersk is fuel agnostic. The reason why we started with methanol is simply the fact that the technology was ready at the time, and we knew that we could source a significant volume of methanol, having been out in the market and seen the development that was happening. And that gave us the confidence to get started. Let's remember that in 2020, we further tighten our carbon neutrality target, so we move it to the previously announced 2050 to actually achieve carbon neutrality in 2040, with a very steep intermediate target in 2030. So we had to get started. That was the reason. A lot of learning has been gained, and certainly, as I said, in our iterative process, we are also expanding our research and views on other fuels than methanol.
Great, thank you very much. Now turning back to the engine manufacturers. So maybe Nicholas first and then Kenneth. Being at the forefront of developing engines for these alternative fuels, could you please briefly summarize your key learnings so far? Nicholas, please.
Sure. So if it comes down to the development, then as I said, we have 4 gas engines already developed, LPG, ethane, LNG, and methanol. And even the latest one, methanol, came into operation 2016 with way more than 500,000 running hours. I would say proven technology. Of course, there are some hiccups here and there on new technologies, but basically we can say that's now proven and done. Ammonia is certainly different. Ammonia we started to fire on the test bed in Copenhagen in the research center last year. And yeah, the outcome was quite positive and promising. Now we have the first engine with our engine builder Mitsui in Tamano in Japan, the first live engine on the test bed, soon to be fired fully on ammonia within the next months, and then hopefully going into the vessel this year and then on the ocean 2025. We have other pilot projects in parallel so that we are confident to have a fully sales release in 2026. If it comes down to really the takeaways from the development of the technology, I think Kobayashi-san said it as well. I mean, the engine itself is not so much different in 80%, but then you have the injection system, the other 20%, and of course it is high pressure explosive gases on the LNG side, which was at this time already new to the industry, and now we have the toxicity of ammonia on top of this. So we spent a lot of the research and development hours on the development of ammonia in the safety concepts. And I said ammonia for us, one is the potential candidate for dominance in the future fuel mix. So we have to make 100% sure at this stage, 0 incidents and safety first.
Great, thank you. Kenneth, please.
Yes, thank you. Yes, if we start with methanol, the first lab engine started 10 years ago, and that's now business as usual, so that's looking good. And then we should not forget, of course, biosynthetic methane, which is then a drop-in fuel to LNG. So, I mean, this is something that has not been discussed. Then ethanol, that is also tested, so looking into that if there is a market. Ammonia engine, yes, launched, ready to be, so, or is being sold. So that is, of course, also on the map. Hydrogen even, and the concept will be ready by first concept ready by 25, end of 25. So that is maybe more for our energy business, but still also looking into this. And I think the challenge here is that we do need to look into a lot of fuels, and we don't know really where the market is going. But adding to what both of my brothers in arms here mentioned about ammonia, and that goes of course with all of these renewable new fuels. If there's something which is either toxic or they're more flammable or something like this, then clearly safety is number one. And it's not only the technical safety that we can do, it's also in the procedures, and then we come into the training, which is of utmost importance. And of course here we who do this, we have a lot of learnings to give, and I think when it comes to safety, there shouldn't be any competition. Then we should be able to share those procedures, ensuring safe operation. And then of course when it comes to the technical details, then that maybe we're not so willing to share, but that's the thing I wanted to highlight. And again, shortly, yes, we don't know where all of this is going, but we need to be prepared for everything. And like also shown many times here, there will be regional differences, there are different predictions of which fuel will win. And the challenge for us is that we need to be ready for everything.
Great, thank you. We got a very interesting question from the audience, and I think I'll just put it on the floor and you will see who picks it up. Given the toxicity of ammonia, do you think sailors will be hesitant to sail onboard ammonia-powered vessels? Anyone?
Probably I should take this one. I mean, we employ 13,000 seafarers in Maersk, right? And I think I'm equipped to answer the question. My view is that if you involve the end users, so the seafarers, early on in the design phase, in understanding the risk, in understanding the engineering and the mitigation that you implement from a design point of view, as well as from an operational standards point of view, I don't believe the obstacle of attracting seafarers will be there. So I think the early involvement, the sharing of information, the transparency on the engineering process are going to be crucial to attract seafarers. Let us also remember that there is already in the market orders and deliveries of ammonia carriers, and some of these vessels will be indeed ammonia dual fuel vessels. So this is going to happen very shortly. And Maersk Tankers, as an example, has placed an order for that, and we are supporting the design phase and the construction of the vessels. And indeed, the key parameter for us is early involvement of the seafarers.
Thank you.
If I may add shortly, I fully agree, and clearly, yes, brought in and make sure that they can also give feedback to the safety procedures that we have started or we are starting. But then also turning the question back, and this is what I always say, if we go 20 years back and somebody would have said that let's put LNG on a passenger ferry, there would have been a huge riot. So with procedures in place, with training, and taking all the sort of steps with all the players who are handling and operating these fuels into the loop, I think this will be doable. So.
Great insight. So transparency, involvement, and training will be key ingredients to make this transition. Robert, turning now to the supply side that you represent here. So with all the different fuels, could you share some reflection on how the fuel mix has changed over the years and how are storage companies like Advario adapting to this shift, please?
Yes, certainly, thanks. So if we look at the past, how we saw the fuel mix change, before it was always high sulfur bunker fuel that we saw for the ships. And it was also related to a question that I saw earlier this week. In fact, that has changed to low sulfur fuel from our perspective quite fast, which was interesting to see. So we saw that switch to low sulfur. We saw drop-in becoming more and more available. I must say it's still on the low side, but you see we saw it coming up. And then if you ask how do we adapt to that, I mean, for us, it's somehow, I would say, it's our bread and butter. We work with our customers on what do they need in terms of certification, traceability of the fuels that they use in their ships, and how do we make sure that there is a safe handling of all these products. So we work with them. We ask them for their needs well in advance, and we make sure that we have the capacity, the storage capacity available for them to make sure that we are ready when they come in.
Great, and if I may follow up on that one, because that's also a similar question from the audience, but obviously fuel availability is a key piece in the decarbonization of the industry. And where do you expect to see large demand for upgrading or retrofitting of your storage tanks to adapt to this future?
Yeah, so that is a multiple a question that can be answered in more ways. So where do we see? We believe that this change will happen here in Singapore. It's important. I mean, the bunkering hubs globally will be the first one to convert very, very quickly. Where we see the need for retrofitting, I mean, we were discussing e-methanol before. Methanol is being stored today already. We might convert existing storage capacity for methanol, and that would be in collaboration with our customers, would be something that we could reasonably do. Now, for the quantities of ammonia that is needed, there will be a lot of capacity needed, storage capacity needed to be installed. We are working on that here with our customers. We are working at different locations on these projects, and we see those in these bunkering hubs that we already discussed before.
Thank you. All right, so let's now come back to the training, and Leonardo, this one goes to you. So to be specific, how do you plan to approach this upskilling challenge of your crew and your seafarers?
Allow me to be a bit provocative here first, because I believe it's actually a massive opportunity. And I'll give you a data point on this. So in July of 2023, we took delivery of the first green methanol dual fuel vessel, right? And for about 40 positions, which is a two set of crews, we had 1,250 internal applicants. So where I'm going with this is that seafarers, employees want to be part of the green transition. And those companies, ship owners, ship managers that are not going to be part of it, they're not going to be able to attract top talents, neither retain it. So this is a really big opportunity for early movers. Now, reflecting also on the case of Laura Maersk, when we placed the orders a few years before the delivery, we were working with the IGF code at a point in time, so the regulation for methanol operation were not fully ready. So what it meant for training is that we started with, together with Class Society, with Flag State and technology providers, in the first version of the training, based very much on the IGF code. It was good, probably excessive. We learned from it, taken feedback from the seafarers, and adjusted the training program. Where I'm going with it is that the key learning, again, is starting early, working closely with the end users, hearing the feedback on what is relevant for the seafarers to be trained on, and adjust the program as you go along. This is something that requires also a lot of collaboration. I mentioned Class Society, Flag States, and technology developers to work together. And I think the announcement earlier this week of what Singapore is doing here is great in establishing this training center. So more is needed, and that's a super great start.
Great, thank you. I believe the next one is more to the engine manufacturers, because also you play an important role in the training of the seafarers. And some research that we have done indicate that as many as 750,000 seafarers will need training by 2050. So this is a huge number. And you are possessing a lot of the technologies, and we touched earlier on the involvement, the transparency, and the training. What can you contribute with in this respect? Maybe we can start here, Leonard, and then we go down the line.
Yeah, I think if it comes down to training on the new technologies, everybody has to do their homework in-house, and that's not the difficulty. So to develop an engine, and then of course in parallel you develop the trainings to it, that's the usual procedure. And for us, coming as MN Energy Solutions from the oil and gas petrochemical side as well, toxic gases or high pressure explosive gases is nothing new. We don't have to reinvent the wheel here. We can just take it from this side. But I think the real challenge is what you said, the amount of people to be trained, and then in an industry which is not used to do that. And that's really, really a challenge. And there I fully agree what just has been said. So I think the approach, we have to put all hands on deck here. I really appreciate the push from MPA in Singapore for the tripartite advisory panel approach, and then leading to the signing of the LOI on Monday for the METF, the Maritime Energy Training Facilities, where across industries, across the segments, together with the institutions and the universities, we all commit to put this training into place, because it's absolutely necessary. And we really have to hurry up.
Great. Ken, please.
Yes, I agree fully, and of course we have similar. On top of that, and coming back to that, there is a lot of seafarers who volunteered and want to be in this new way. We also need to remember that we as human beings, or the evolution is evolving, meaning that we need to find new ways of training, also making sure that the next generation keeps interest. And I think sort of short term, that means that as at least our children are, the phone is attached to the hand. So we need to find new ways of is it then XR, VR, whatever kinds of means of supporting the training, and also online training or sort of self-learning in these different kinds of modules, in order to make sure, or even remote certification, which then can give more flexibility to the seafarers or the maritime students in order to fulfill these new requirements. So we also need to sort of look ourselves in the mirror and find new ways of making this more sort of attractive and appealing.
Excellent. Hiroki-san, anything to add on this?
Yeah, just one comment. So ICHA also, learned a lot about ammonia risk issue during our test facility operation. So we are now accumulating our know-how how to deal with the ammonia risk. So of course we are happy to share this information, and maybe we can improve how to mitigate and how to make a more safer design from our point of view. So it's not easy, but still, after we discussion together with potential partners, I think we can overcome these challenges.
Opportunity for also doing new things, and that's very good. Let me ask you all the sort of the last question in this panel discussion. So we can easily say that these are very exciting times for the industry. And to finish off, if you could all share one aspect of the industry's fuel transition you are most excited about. And if you could start here with you, Niklas, please.
I'm simply excited about that it's going to happen. It is going to happen. If we want to enable our future generations, our children, grandchildren to live in this beautiful planet and enjoy it as we have enjoyed it, we need to make it happen. And we need to decarbonize the world. So it is going to happen. It's maybe the biggest challenge of mankind in the last decades, but it's a big growth potential as well. So if we do it right, we can basically transfer or transition into a greener, more beautiful world by having a strong economy and wealth. And that's exciting to me.
Great, thanks.
Yeah, I'd say the same thing in different words, meaning that what motivates to be part of the generation who kicked off the transition, and then the next generation will then judge whether we were at the tipping point already or has it already gone. We can't see that yet, but be part of the generation who kicked off the transition.
Yeah, for me, the exciting thing is, personally, I come from the energy sector, but for this decarbonization, we now come together. So we have a different stakeholder, like ship builder, operators, or regulatory bodies. We come together, and we have same the corporate spirit driving the industrial fuel transition. So I think this is very much exciting for me. This is my age or our age. We are working for next generation, so for our child generation. So we should hand over better planet to the those generations. So that's we have to work now.
Yes, that's going to happen. It's of course, I find it also super exciting. I would like to add to that for me it is also the collaboration that we'll be needing. The supply chain needs to be set up, logistics needs to set up, the motors for ship, the training. Before we were working, I wouldn't say in silos, but we were maybe working a little bit separated from each other. Today, if we want to make this change in time, we really need to do that in partnership. I mean, we consider ourselves partners for progress. I think that we really see that also in the development of this. People start to collaborate, working together in order to make the change on time. And I find that extremely exciting.
Yeah, I'll start with a sense of responsibility. I think it's known that we are the first generation to comprehend what the effects of climate change could be, and we are the last generation that could do something about it. When I reflect on it, and I do that often, it is something that is, it makes me reflect a lot on the purpose of the job that I do, in what I want to achieve in this life, right? So there is, I think, this great purpose in doing this. It's also very linked to the core value of Maersk, which is constant care, which also involves, they're actively preparing for tomorrow. Aside from that, so this sense of responsibility, I think there's a lot of excitement because I see a lot of opportunities. There is opportunities in innovating technology, innovating business models, in actually creating the shipping of the future. And that excites me enormously. And indeed also meeting partners, stakeholders, people we work with, and jointly embark on this journey, I think is highly energizing.
Great insights, and thank you so much. And I think we end on a very positive note, and you all have, positive outlooks, and it is certainly encouraging to see that we as individuals, as different companies, we can all come together and really make an impact, and how important that impact will be, not only for this decade, but also for decades to come and generations to come. And I think we can conclude, if anyone was expecting that we would have the right answer for the fuel of the future, I think we will deliver that collaboration is the fuel of the future. So thank you everyone for your attention, and thank you to all the panelists for great insights. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Urbach-Nielsen, as well as all our panelists for the thought-provoking discussion. Could we take a group photo before you take your leave, please? If you could come together and stand on this line, that would be great. Thank you once again. May I kindly invite you to take your seats, please?